Hello everyone. Welcome you to our next class on general organic chemistry. Today, what we are going to talk about is hyperconjugation. Till the last class, we have completed our discussion on resonance, and the next electronic effect which we are going to study today is hyperconjugation. If you have not gone through our resonance videos, then please do go through them. I have attached the description in, so please go through them, and in case you have any problem, please do let us know. So today what we will be talking about is hyperconjugation. It is also regarded as no bond resonance. So let us first understand what hyperconjugation is and why it is called no bond resonance. This is the second of the electronic effects that we are studying. So let us consider this carbocation first. Why is it a carbocation? Because the carbon bears a positive here, so it is carbocation. If the carbon bears a negative charge, we call it a carboanion. So now in this case, this is a carbocation. So if we draw the orbital pictures, it is going to look somewhat like this. One above the plane, one below the plane, one is in this, and if you draw this is definitely going to have a empty p orbital. This is a empty p orbital. Empty p orbital. Now in this case, there is no chance of pi electron delocalization, because you see in the system there is no pi electrons. So this positive charge cannot be stabilized by utilizing pi electrons. So, but this has one more option. This is a sigma bond. You understand? This is a sigma bond. So if we can draw it, it is going to look somewhat like this. It is going to look somewhat like this. This is a filled sigma orbital. This is a filled sigma orbital because this bond has got two electrons, one from carbon, one from hydrogen. So this is a filled sigma orbital, whereas this is an empty p orbital adjacent to this filled sigma orbital. Now in this case, what happens? This filled sigma orbital sees that there is an empty p orbital just beside me. Suppose you are very rich and you have a neighbor who is not that rich and he needs some money. Now this sigma orbital feels for this empty p orbital and thinks that if I am going to give my electrons to it or share my electrons with it, then the entire system is going to be stabilized. So the rich person now decides that he is going to give somewhat of his money to the poor person, and that's how both of them are going to get stabilized as an entire system. This is an entire system. Your society is your entire system. So now this sigma orbital decides that it can share its sigma electrons or these bonded electrons with this empty p orbital. This is what is referred to as hyperconjugation. In this way, what happens is that though this now has become devoid of sigma electrons, I won't say completely devoid of it because it has shared it. It didn't give its entire sigma electrons to the empty pi orbital. It has just shared a portion of its electrons with the empty p orbital, which is residing on the carbocationic carbon. So since it has shared a portion of it, the sigma electron density over this bond has now been reduced and the electron density over this bond has somewhat increased. So what has happened is we can write it somewhat like this. We can write it somewhat like this. But remember, this H atom, this H plus ion, as a matter of fact, has not been actually liberated. The bond has been broken to some extent. This has gone here. So how to represent it? If this is H, 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 and we have a vacant p orbital over it, this has migrated to this. However, there is no complete migration. Mind it. And that's why though we have represented it like this H plus ion is being liberated, but there is no such H plus ion which has been liberated because this bond is not completely broken. It will share a part of its electrons with this vacant p orbital, and this kind of overlap is known as hyperconjugation. This overlap with the filled sigma orbital and the vacant p orbital lying over this carbocationic carbon. So what is the evidence of it? Again, what is the experimental evidence of it? The experimental evidence of it is, if you measure the CC bond length in this case, you will find that this is somewhat in between a single and a double bond, definitely indicating that the electrons have migrated to this. Okay, and if you measure the CH single bond length, it is definitely going to be this bond length, which, if you measure this CH bond length, it is not going to be a complete exact CH bond length, because the electrons from it has migrated over to the CC single bond in order to actually fulfill the deficit of electrons present over this vacant p orbital. I believe you have understood it. Now let us go to the orbital picture of it. If you go to the orbital picture of it, things will become a little more clear. So this is the orbital picture of ionization. So what happens is that, you see, I had represented it somewhat like this. So this is the filled sigma bond, this is the filled sigma bond, this is the vacant 2p orbital lying over this, and since there is a filled sigma bond, it will have 2 electrons. This is now going to combine to give rise to 2 molecular orbitals. One is known as bonding orbital and one is known as anti-bonding orbital, and this will be filled up somewhat like this. It will be more clearer if we learn chemical bonding and learn the molecular orbital approach of it, but as of now it is sufficient to understand that the filled sigma bond and the empty p orbitals are going to combine among themselves to give rise to 2 molecular orbitals, one having lesser energy, one having higher energy, and since the electrons are going into the orbital having lesser energy, it is definitely going to give rise to some kind of stabilization. I believe you have understood it. Now, how to understand which one is going to give you more hyperconjugation and which species is going to give you less hyperconjugation. So hyperconjugation is a stabilizing effect. We have seen the molecular orbital diagram and we have come to the conclusion that hyperconjugation is definitely a stabilizing effect. So now if we see this example what we have taken, now first understanding hyperconjugation just needs a few minutes of work. So if you see a species like this, you just find out the alpha carbon. What is the alpha carbon? The carbon lying just beside the functional group. So the carbocationic carbon is the carbon which we are focusing on now. So this is going to be our alpha carbon. So in this case, the number of alpha hydrogens are 3 alpha hydrogens. So number of hydrogens attached to the alpha carbon are the alpha hydrogens. So you need to remember this. Whenever you find a carbocationic species and you need to understand hyperconjugation in it, understand this. Species can be stabilized by resonance, species can be stabilized by hyperconjugation as well. Hyperconjugation is not that dominant like resonance. Species which can be stabilized by resonance definitely will opt for resonance rather than hyperconjugation. First you have to understand which species are going to stabilize through resonance and which through hyperconjugation. The molecules or systems which doesn't have pi electrons in it have no possibility or no they have no opportunity to stabilize themselves through resonance. So in that case it definitely will stabilize through hyperconjugation. So when will hyperconjugation happen? Hyperconjugation is only going to happen if there are alpha hydrogens. What are alpha hydrogens? Alpha hydrogens are the hydrogens that are attached to the alpha carbon. The alpha carbon is the carbon which lies just beside the functional group we are actually focusing on. So in this case there are 3 alpha hydrogens. So what happens? So if we represent this as HA, HB and HC and HC, so we are going to get one hyperconjugating structure somewhat like this. Understand very well, though we will be writing H plus is not actually liberated in the solution because the bond is not entirely broken. So this is one hyperconjugating structure. We are going to get same hyperconjugating structures once this HB migrates and once this HC migrates. So we are going to get structures like this once HB and HC migrate. So you are going to get somewhat like this once HB migrates, and the same thing when HC migrates. So we are going to get, if this is B and we represent the third one as C, so you are going to get three hyperconjugating structures. Remember this, the number of alpha hydrogens is going to be equal to the number of hyperconjugating structures you are going to get. In this case, since there are 3 alpha hydrogens, we are ending up with 3 hyperconjugating structures. If there are more number of alpha hydrogens, we will be getting the same number of hyperconjugating structures. Now the question comes is why it is called no bond resonance. Why it is called no bond resonance? In case of resonance, it was the pi electrons that were migrating. You have to understand this. In case of resonance, it was the pi electrons that were migrating, whereas in this case, it is the sigma electrons which are migrating. That's why it is also known as no bond resonance. In this case, though the sigma electrons actually share its electrons with the vacant p orbital lying over this carbon, the complete bond is never broken. That's why it is also called no bond resonance. I believe you have understood it. Now, let us understand this in a little more detail. Now, if we have these three, CH3, CH2 plus, as of now we are studying hyperconjugation in carbocations or in carbocationic species. We have this species and we have this species. So how are they going to stabilize themselves? So if I have not drawn anything, that definitely means there are methyl groups over here. Now if you compare these three, how are you going to actually understand which of them is the most stable one? So in this case, this one is the alpha carbon, because this one is the functional group under consideration, so this one is the alpha carbon. So in this case, we have 3 alpha hydrogen. In this case, this one is 1 alpha carbon, this one is 1 alpha carbon. In this case, 3 plus 3. So there are 6 alpha hydrogens. In this case, there are these 3 of the alpha carbons, and each of the alpha carbon has 3 alpha hydrogens. So in this case, we have 9 alpha hydrogens. Greater the number of alpha hydrogens, more is the number of hyperconjugating structures, and correspondingly more is the stability. So this one, if we represent it as C, this as B and this as A, so structure C is definitely going to be more stable as compared to B, and B is going to be more stable as compared to A, because C has got 9 alpha hydrogens, B has got 6 alpha hydrogens, whereas A has got only 3 alpha hydrogens. Okay, now there might be some problem in counting of alpha hydrogens. I will come to that. So this one is known as a 3-degree carbocation or a tertiary carbocation. Carbon bearing no hydrogens, okay, and 3 alkyl groups are tertiary carbocations. In this case, carbon bears 1 hydrogen and 2 alkyl groups. This is a 2-degree carbocation or a secondary carbocation. In this case, carbon has 2 hydrogens and only 1 alkyl group attached to it. So this is a primary carbocation or a 1-degree carbocation. Now let us come to counting of hyperconjugating structure. Now if someone asks you between this and this, which one is going to be more stable? Which one is going to be more stable? So what will you answer? So there is a positive charge over here. So what will you answer? In this case, there are 3 plus 3 plus 3, 9 alpha hydrogens. If I have not drawn anything, that means there is a methyl group here. So in this case there are 9 alpha hydrogens, in this case there are 6 alpha hydrogens. In this case, if you understand, this one is the alpha carbon which does not have any alpha hydrogen, so this has 0 alpha hydrogens. So this one is definitely going to be the least stable among these three. I believe this is clear to you. C is going to be the least stable, followed by B and then A. A is going to be the most stable one because this has got the maximum number of alpha hydrogens attached to it. So this way you count the number of alpha hydrogens. You just go to the alpha carbon and see how many hydrogens are attached to it. More the number of alpha hydrogens attached to the alpha carbon, greater is the corresponding stability of that carbocation. Now if someone asks you between these two, suppose this one, it is a benzylic carbocation and this is a 3-degree carbocation. Which one is more stable? Now by simple count, if you see this one has got 0 alpha hydrogen. This one is the alpha carbon in this case. This has got 0 alpha hydrogen, whereas in this case there are 9 alpha hydrogens. 3 here, 3 here and 3 here. 9 alpha hydrogens. So if you just go by this and say that this one is more stable as compared to this one, it is going to be wrong. I have told you at the very onset that hyperconjugation does not dominate resonance. Instead, resonance is way better stabilizing effect as compared to hyperconjugation. In this case, you know, benzylic carbocation is stabilized by resonance. If something is stabilized by resonance, the effect is way more pronounced as compared to hyperconjugation. So this is stabilized by resonance, whereas this is stabilized by hyperconjugation. Resonance is a far more stabilizing effect as compared to hyperconjugation. So definitely this is going to be more stable than this, though this has got 0 alpha hydrogens and this has got 9 alpha hydrogens. Remember this, resonance is a way more stabilizing effect as compared to hyperconjugation. Up to now what we have talked about is hyperconjugation in carbocationic species. Now what we are going to talk about is hyperconjugation in alkenes. Hyperconjugation in alkenes. Hyperconjugation is not restricted to carbocationic species only, they might happen in alkenes as well. So in this case, if you see, if we take a normal alkene like this, in this case you can understand that there is no probability of resonance because there are no double bonds in conjugation with each other. So these are the only pi electrons present and there is no probability of resonance. So what can happen? The same thing can happen over here as well. In this case there are 3 hydrogens over here, which can actually participate in hyperconjugation, resulting in somewhat like this. And we end up with a structure like this. I believe this is clear to you. In this case there is some kind of charge separation. You can see, though the total charge over this species is 0. This is hyperconjugation. In the next step what you can do is you can draw a structure like this, top to middle and middle to top, and you can draw something like this as well. But this is not going to be a hyperconjugating structure. These two are resonating structures. These two are not hyperconjugating structures. Okay. So this can be stabilized like this as well. Now the question comes is, you might ask, in the case of a carbocation, there was a vacant p orbital over this carbocationic carbon which was being stabilized by the field sigma orbital of this adjacent carbon hydrogen. So this was stabilizing this. In this case, if you see, the pi orbitals is filled. This is a filled pi orbital. If this is a filled pi orbital, how will this sigma electron donate its electrons to this filled pi orbital? Because it is already filled. If something is already filled, then it doesn't need any sort of extra electrons, or in other words, where will it keep the extra electron? There is no room for the extra electrons. So you have to understand this. This is donated to the pi star orbital of this double bond. Okay. So if I could have drawn the molecular orbital diagram, it would have been easier for you. but as of now it is beyond the scope of your syllabus, so I'll be restricting to this discussion itself that this is being donated from the filled sigma orbital to the vacant pi star orbital, Now many of you might ask that why will it donate it to the pi star orbital, because pi star is an anti-bonding orbital and that means again instability. It is not so actually, because the filled sigma orbital is somewhat like this. If I can draw the molecular orbital diagram, the vacant pi star orbital is like this. Vacant orbitals always have higher energy as compared to filled orbitals, because vacant orbitals are unstable orbitals, filled orbitals are stable orbitals. As in, if you have more money, you are stabilized, so that's why you will be lying at a lower energy as compared to someone who is having a lesser amount of money. So that's what stabilization is. If you have electrons, you are stabilized. If you have paucity of electrons, you are destabilized. In other words, if you have a lot of money, then also you are destabilized because you have accumulated some kind of charge. So excess of charge is also harmful, lesser amount of charge is also harmful. So in this case, the pi star orbital is devoid of electrons, so this is going to be of higher energy as compared to the filled sigma orbital. So this is going to lie at a lower energy, and these two will combine to form a bonding orbital and an anti-bonding orbital, as I have shown in the previous diagram itself. So the filled orbital has 2 electrons, the filled sigma orbital. This is what is going to happen, and since the electrons are going to come to the bonding orbital, bonding molecular orbital only, this is again stabilization. It is not going to come here, it is going to come here, because this sigma orbital and the pi star anti-bonding orbital is going to combine to give 2 molecular orbitals, out of which the electrons are going to come to the bonding orbital itself. So there is no question of destabilization. I know this is a little bit sketchy, but as of now, since you don't know molecular orbital theory to that extent, I'll be restricting my discussions to this level only as of now. Once we go to the molecular orbital section, we will discuss all of these things in very great detail. So if someone asks you between this and this, which one is more stable? Which one is more stable? Now in this case, the functional group under consideration is this double bond. So this one is the alpha carbon. How many alpha hydrogens does it have? It has 3 alpha hydrogens. In this case, there are 2 alpha carbons, because this one is the group under consideration. 1 alpha carbon over here, 1 alpha carbon over here. So these are 6 alpha hydrogens. So this is going to be more stable as compared to this. I believe this is clear to you. Let me take one more example as well. Now if someone asks you, can you tell me whether between this and this, which one is going to be? If you don't know cis and trans isomer, I would request you to go to the stereo isomerism video lecture. There it has been discussed in details. I am going to give you the link in the description below, so please go through it. So this one, since these groups are on the same side, this is the cis isomer, and in this case, since the same groups are on the opposite side, this is the trans isomer. So if you now count the number of alpha hydrogens, in this case there are 6 alpha hydrogens, because this is the alpha carbon and this is the alpha carbon. So 3 plus 3 is 6. In this case also there is 3. This one is 1 alpha carbon and this one is another alpha carbon. So in this case as well, there are 3 plus 3, that is 6 alpha hydrogens. 6 alpha hydrogens. So both of them have 6 alpha hydrogens, and both of them does not have the opportunity of resonance. Both of them has to stabilize itself by hyperconjugation, and both of them have 6 alpha hydrogens. So the extent of hyperconjugation in both these cases is going to be the same. But the problem arises is, in this case, this is a cis isomer. These are bulky groups. These methyl groups are bulky groups. And if they are present at the same side of the plane, they are going to sterically repel each other. They are going to face a lot of strain if they are on the same side of the plane. So if you consider these to be on the plane of the paper, both of them are either above the plane or below the plane. Okay, both of them are either above the plane or below the plane. Since both of them are above the plane, in this case, both of them are going to face steric repulsion. And on the other hand, if it is a trans isomer, you can understand one is below the plane and one is above the plane. So the amount of steric repulsion is definitely going to be lesser as compared to the cis isomer. So the trans isomer is going to be more stable as compared to the cis isomer in cases where the number of hyperconjugating hydrogens are the same. Okay. Now, if someone asks you between this and this, again, people might confuse you. People will confuse you rather. If someone asks you between this and this, which one is going to be more stable? Which one is going to be more stable? Just count the number of alpha hydrogens. This one is a functional group under consideration. So this one is the alpha carbon. No hydrogen is attached to this carbon. So this has 0 alpha hydrogens. Whereas in this case, this carbon has got 1 alpha hydrogen. So this is going to be more stable as compared to this one. What I am trying to tell is just focus on the alpha carbon. Just focus on the carbon which resides beside the functional group under consideration. You need not see anything else. Just see the alpha carbon, see the number of hydrogens attached to the alpha carbon and predict the stability. The one having greater alpha hydrogens will have greater hyperconjugation and will have more stability, provided it does not have resonance. If there is resonance, then the one which participates in resonance is definitely going to be much more stable. Now again the experimental background of it. We are going to learn something known as heat of hydrogenation. Heat of hydrogenation. Now if someone asks you, you can predict pretty well. If now someone asks you like this, between this and this, which one is going to be more stable, which one is going to be more stable. I believe you can tell which one is going to be more stable because this has got, you see, this one is the alpha carbon, this one is the alpha carbon, there are 6 alpha hydrogens. In this case, this one is the only alpha carbon, so there are 2 alpha hydrogens, so this one is going to be more stable than this. But how to predict? How do we know that this one is actually more stable than this one? There has to be some experimental evidence of it. The experimental evidence of this is the heat of hydrogenation value. So once you understand one more thing as well, alkane is always more stable. Alkane is always more stable than alkene. The dashes indicate the energy levels of the alkene and its corresponding alkane. So both of them, what is hydrogenation? Hydrogenation means addition of hydrogen. So once you hydrogenate this species, suppose you hydrogenate this species using nickel palladium in presence of hydrogen, and there are many more hydrogenating species as well. So if you hydrogenate this species, you are going to end up with something like this: CH2, CH2, CH3. So what is going to happen is that the H2 molecule is going to get inserted in this double bond. Same is the case with this. The H2 molecule is going to get inserted in this double bond, and you are going to end up with the same species. You are going to end up with butane in both the cases. Now the thing is, since you are going to end up with butane in both the cases, so if you forcibly do hydrogenation, you are going to get the same alkane in both the cases, and its energy is going to be the same in both the cases. Now both the alkenes are different, so they are bound to have different energy levels. They are bound to have different energy levels. Energy levels as in they are bound to have different energies. The one which is more stable is going to have lesser energy. The one which is less stable is going to be on a higher side. So suppose this is A and this is B. We don't know which one is which one. We don't know which one is which one. We haven't indicated it here. So we don't know which one is which one. So once hydrogenation happens, this amount of energy has to be released. This amount of energy has to be released. So the one which releases lesser amount of energy is going to be more stable. In this case, B is more stable than A because the energy value will give you an indication of the corresponding positions of A and B. If the energy liberated is less, then you can understand that B is at a lower position as compared to A because B is liberating lesser amount of energy because we are getting the same alkane in both the cases. The alkane energy is constant, it's fixed. So the the thing which is going to give you lesser energy is definitely going to be on the lower side. So in this case, B is going to be less stable than A. B is going to be more stable than A, and the heat of hydrogenation, the magnitude of heat of hydrogenation of this B is going to be lesser. So we are going to take two molecules, we are going to measure the heat of hydrogenation. The one which is going to give us lesser heat of hydrogenation, that is the magnitude of heat of hydrogenation is lesser. In that case, we are going to say that that specific molecule which is giving us lesser magnitude is more stable than the one which is giving us a greater magnitude. In this case, if we take these two molecules, if this is A and this is B, we see that I have given it wrong nomenclature, sorry. If this is B and this is A, we are going to see that B is going to liberate lesser amount of energy as compared to A if hydrogenation is done. That's how we come to the conclusion that B is more stable than A. I believe this is clear. So heat of hydrogenation, magnitude of heat of hydrogenation is inversely proportional, I believe it is clear, is inversely proportional to the stability. Since molecule B is more stable as compared to molecule A, it is giving a lesser magnitude of heat of hydrogenation. I believe this is clear to you. This much for this lecture. In the next class, we are going to talk a little bit about hyperconjugation in free radicals, and then we are going to go into inductive effect. If you have any problem regarding this discussion, please let me know in the comment section below. I believe you have liked it, and if you have loved the content, then please do share and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.